Hi, I'm Glenn, City of Island Fishing Field Team, COF Field Team, and we're on iFishNews podcast. And tonight, what we're bringing to you is some lessons learned, some recent trips from, this past weekend. That said, this is our show, iFishNews, where we hope to have our audience learn to fish by our trials and errors. In this episode, we're talking about Tenkara fishing in close quarters. In particular, right behind in the picture that I have behind me is a creek. There's a lot of junk in the area, and it looks like there's going to be a tough way to fish. But luckily, yours truly brought a Tenkara rod, a 12-foot Tenkara rod, that one from Tenkara USA that we picked up just the other day, the I Got a Tenkara rod, 12-footer. And, some lessons learned this round. What we want to take away from this is, can you fish a Tenkara rod in close quarters, specifically having the brush and overhead trees and limbs and whatnot, being able to clobber your ability to cast. And then on top of it, we had some recent rain, so also had a lot of debris floating in the water, and that was making it a little bit tough for us. So can you, and what we learned from that? Well, let's go right into it. Okay, so starting out, we've got this 12-foot Tenkara rod in tight quarters. I opened it up and was able to see fairly clear in the water. Some nice bluegill, a bass or two, and we've been here the other day using a fly rod, and was able to catch a few fish as well using a foam grasshopper. And so we basically did the same thing, just replaced the rod with a Tenkara rod. And in this case, limited back cast, so luckily with our fly rod we were able to use some switch casts and roll casts and being able to get the fly where the fish were, and that was not a big deal. I did hang up here or there on some brush and overhead branches and whatnot, but not a big deal. So bringing out the Tenkara rod, what did that mean for us? Well, one, if we found an open space, we could definitely get our cast in there. Other places where it was really clobbered, as well as tree overhanging us, we were able to still get that cast out there using a bow and arrow cast. So you kind of just take up the line on your left hand, bend the rod like you're going to shoot a bow and arrow, and then release, and sure enough you can get the fly where you need to. After a couple of practice tries, you could definitely get it where you needed to. So that was a plus, having that capability with the Tenkara rod, even in those tight quarters with that 12-foot rod. Some may argue to use a shorter fly rod, maybe stick to the roll casting and whatnot. And we did that, and actually we went with a long fly rod as well, and found that helped us as well. But what we also noticed is just fishing these creeks didn't have to cast very far. So the real main thing was being able to take your fly underneath the brush or underneath the overhang or out where the beds were, which is well within casting distance of the Tenkara rod. And so didn't feel hindered there when it came to fishing Tenkara style in a brushy creek. So big thing there is you can do that. Some lessons or learn or takeaway is that bow and arrow cast was definitely a key. The other thing is we noticed there's a lot of debris in the water, and regardless of you had a fly rod or not, or a Tenkara rod, you definitely were not going to be hanging up anyway. So I didn't think that was a factor when it came to deciding on which kind of fly rod or fishing rod to use, be it Tenkara or a fly rod. But some things that we would do next time going out there, we'll probably go with a shorter line. So we were using a 12-foot level line, actually weight forward level line with about another 3 foot of leader and tippet. So that's a good, 27, 15, 12, 27 feet was not too bad. We were able to get where we needed to and whatnot. But what ended up happening is what was hindering us is being able to bring the fish in. As you took the line in, you'd have to grab the line and bring the fish without using the rod the rest of the way. So we already went ahead and made ourselves a different line, a little bit shorter. We'll show over here. So on the podcast, what we're showing is a shorter level line, weight forward line that we've set up. It's basically 6 feet of level line and about 3 feet of the leader tippet material. And so we're gonna probably have that in our back pocket, and it's too easy to keep in our fishing vests. We'll be able to switch them out, especially since we're using a Lillian and that loop-to-loop connection, so we can definitely switch out lines fairly quickly depending on the situation. So that's the big lesson learned when it comes to Tenkara fishing and fishing in close quarters. Alrighty, so other than that, I didn't see much of a difference between a fly rod versus a Tenkara rod. Working that little creek, got some nice bluegill, got a little bass. Did see some other bass hovering about, but they did not want our fly. Also thinking that with a shorter line setup, we can definitely get where we need to and kind of finesse it in a couple of cases, since you can take advantage of the extra length of the rod and kind of maybe drop it in some holes and whatnot, especially with all that debris. All right, so in review, can you fish a Tenkara rod in close quarters? Yes, you can. Two, some lessons learned or takeaways from it is be prepared to have a shorter line. Bring a shorter line, 27 foot total length of line along with the rod. A little bit too much in this case in some instances, especially when you're bringing in that fish and having to grab the line instead. And so adding in or cutting your line basically in half, still giving you a good, let's see, 6 to 9 plus 12, 21 feet or so. I think we could still get some good casting, as well as poking holes and whatnot, or fishing the different holes and whatnot in the creek to get a bass or two, or maybe a bluegill or two to take. All right, so that's enough for this round. We're still working on this setup for iFishNews and our podcasting style and ability, and hopefully it will get a little bit better every day, and hopefully we can get a little bit more information to our audience every day as well. So that said, if you like what we're doing, do like and subscribe. COAF Field Team, City Valley Fishing Field Team, as well as on iFishNews. You can follow us there on Podbean, our podcasting host. All right. And, oh, by the way, do stay tuned. We'll definitely have some more out there. We'll probably be doing some more Tenkara fishing, since the day-to-day work scenario that we have has us moving about, and having this rod easily fitting in our fishing vest or in the little pickup that we drive. Well, guess what? Makes it just too easy to stop and fish somewhere if traffic gets too crowded and we're in a jam. We can always just stop and catch a fish or two. All right. Till next time, we'll catch you all there. Good luck and good fishing. All right, got a little guy. Cool beans, a bass. Little foam grasshopper bass.